part of Black excellence. When the country's brightest minds were denied access, who, these prestigious universities and institutions, accepted and enriched and empowered them. Even now, from the election of the second highest office in the nation to researchers and physicians on the frontiers of developing innovative solutions to COVID-19, our HBCUs are producing dynamic leaders, game changers, and helping reshape our nation. So far, these important institutions during the pandemic, how are they partnering with corporations and the alumni ensuring success tonight? Thanks to the support of our sponsors, Coke United and Walmart, we'll have an opportunity to hear from the presidents live, which happens to be these great HBCUs, Alabama's top universities. Each of these institutions enrich the tradition of excellence and legacy of achievement. Tonight we have Dr. Quentin Ross, president of Alabama State University in Montgomery, we'll say that, Alabama. And we've got Dr. Bobby Knight, president of Miles College in Fairfield, Alabama, and Dr. Lily McNear, who came to see me the other day. She really inspired me to think about all the engineers in space we'll have as they open up space colonies, and Dr. Cynthia Warwick, who we're partnering with and rolling out right now. We're really excited about the program that we're rolling out. And of course, here we've got Dr. Billy Hawkins, who is truly the president of Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama. Welcome all, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that these dynamic women here tonight are the first female presidents of 100+ year history of respective institutions, which we celebrate everyone. Congratulations on your achievement.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, it's really important for all of us to have a conversation. You hold the tradition, the country, you know, your impact is seen everywhere. I mean, I know that you're making a difference, but we want to make sure we celebrate. Get ready to be homecoming. I know we don't want to be too stiff. We've got a virtual celebration. People want to know a few questions. I am going to start with my Dr. Presidents, the ladies, if you don't mind, the women here, gentlemen, doctors. I would like to start with you, if I could, Dr. Knight. The pandemic has uncovered some of the disparities that exist regarding access to technology and resources. For some of the HB students throughout the state, how are your institutions working closely to close these gaps, and the communities and corporate partnerships to help and support?
Okay, that's a long question, but
it was long, and believe me, I did not write that.
thank you for asking. So I was telling them backstage earlier that today was our Board of Trustees annual meeting, and one of the things that I put in my report and that I put in the letter to the Board of Trustees was that I wanted Miles College to come out of this pandemic in a position of strength and not weakness. So everything that we've done since March, let me just say this, I was elected permanent president on March 5th. And, you know, a few days later, we were trying to figure out how we were going to get students off the campus and back home and get up virtually and all of that. So it's been a whirlwind, but here's what happens. Out of adversity comes strength all the time. And so one of my gut checks is sitting on this call, and that's Dr. Quentin Ross. I was new at this game of being a college president. And so I would always call him and bounce things off of him. And I think I did the same thing with Billy Hawkins. And fortunately, these two women presidents of these great institutions that are on this call, we have formed this Women Presidents Alliance. But anyway, the opportunity to share best practices, things that were going well, things that were going not so well, All of those things have been vitally important to me in the position that I'm in. What I can also tell you is that without the CARES Act funding, without Congress having the foresight to write the legislation and get that bill passed and the president signing it, we would not be in the position of strength that we're in right now, because it allowed us to continue operations, bring our students back, and do so in a very healthy and safe way.
Well, that was cool. That was cool. They didn't give you much time to put it all together, but you made it work. I really love that. I think that's what we all have to do. I feel like I'm in a time warp. It's Groundhog Day in so many different ways, every single day. I mean, I feel like it's the same day. But I really love that you're pivoting. What message do you have, Dr. Warwick, as it relates to the alumni? It's really a tough time during this pandemic. Just giving us kind of top of mind ideas and the things that you're sharing with your alumni. What would you tell them the importance about giving and what they could do for their alma mater in this moment?
Well, Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, we have a strong relationship with our Alumni Association. Our national alumni are represented on the Board of Trustees, and he was very instrumental in this COVID-19. He actually works for the quarantine group at the CDC. So I call on him when we started working on our return to business plans, and we called on our alumni. We asked them to contribute to a scholarship for George Floyd Memorial Scholarship, where we're just shy of about $5,000 to endow it at $25,000. So if Coca-Cola United or Walmart want to contribute towards endowing that scholarship that one of our trustees has had initiated, we greatly appreciate that. That scholarship is going to support criminal justice students, and we think we need them today, especially those from HBCUs, to support this social justice movement that's engulfing the country. And we're excited about our alumni support. Many lawyers, one of our alums was Michael Figures. He was one of the first African Americans to graduate from the University of Alabama Law School, and he won a judgment with the Southern Poverty Law Center against the Ku Klux Klan in Alabama. So we've also established a scholarship, a fellowship in his name. So it's so important to recognize our alumni, especially those who've made these significant accomplishments in social justice. Is that what you wanted?
I don't have any canned answers that I'm anticipating, and Dr. Warwick, I attended the HBCU, so I know it ain't an easy job, but it's a wonderful job, and I don't have any canned answers that we want. Rolling out doesn't roll quite like that. Obviously, everyone wants to know what they can do. Dr. McNair, you're over there at the great Tuskegee University, and you have a message for alumni, I'm sure, and I really loved learning about what Dr. Warwick was doing. What about you? What are you and the alumni planning? And obviously, I want to lighten up the mood just a little bit. I know you guys have it, but you really got a homecoming coming up Saturday. All of you have virtual homecomings coming up. How are you communicating the challenges and also sharing with the alumni what they can do too? Because I love that Dr. Warwick, he kind of gave an idea and always ask. I think we can't stop asking. As a president, you can't stop asking. So never stop asking. What are you saying to those alumni?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and Coca-Cola and Walmart for hosting this virtual town hall and inviting us to represent our schools. It's always wonderful to be able to talk about the successes of our students, to reach out to alums and let people know what we're doing. We have a very clear message to alumni that we are going to carry out throughout the homecoming season, and that is our students need you now more than ever before. Our students have been hit by this pandemic in ways that we can only imagine. When it comes to technology, when we sent students back in March, we knew that we were sending students back to places where they did not have access to Wi-Fi, where they had to take a laptop that was for the family. They had to share it with the family and go to a Starbucks or to a store where there's free Wi-Fi and do their work. So we were able to raise money through our alumni, over $135,000, to be able to provide support to students, whether in the port of technology needs, laptops, Wi-Fi hotspots, money for food, for groceries, for transportation, and so on, because they basically were told, you can't live here anymore. You've got to find a place to survive. And for many of them, their families were being hit by COVID too. So there was a lot that our students needed. So our students' needs are at the forefront of how we speak to our alumni around what we know they can do to support us right now.
I love that. I think that's a real honest message. I mean, I think many in our community, we think about and you hear food deserts, but we have technological deserts all over our community. It is a real thing.
Yes.
And I think that you described it, and many people, you talk about everyone needs a tablet right now. Everyone needs a computer, and sometimes you need two. So I really love that. And for anybody listening, clearly, you know, that's another gift that you could give to a school, a computer. If you can't give dollars, and you can give an unopened laptop. And Dr. McNair is asking, and you know what you can bring to homecoming. If you can't go to one, give to one. Isn't that what they say? If you can't go to the homecoming, give to the homecoming.
That's
I
right.
think that's a good thing to say. I would like to say, Dr. Hawkins, we really appreciate all that you are doing. It relates to being relevant. The need, the purpose, and how relevant it is to attend a HBCU when everybody thought we were diverse enough in this society that there may not be a need. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Well, first of all, let me say good evening and thank you for hosting. And we want to thank the sponsors for hosting this very, very important panel tonight. You know, all these great presidents that's on this panel tonight, clearly any one of them could, you know, speak to the relevancy, because all these schools that are on tonight, they're all relevant. We all serve a purpose for the students that we serve. Often we've heard the message over and over again about the relevancy of HBCUs. And I hope that soon that we will let that go, because these institutions that are on this panel tonight, as well as the over 105 plus HBCUs that serve student populations throughout this country, whether it be African American and other ethnic groups that attend our institutions. And so when you talk about relevancy, it's not only African American students that attend these institutions. That's something that this country needs to recognize and understand. We service students just like predominantly white institutions, and that's what we do, and that's what we've done. And these institutions have serviced populations of students over 100+ years. Each of these institutions that are represented tonight, and you will find that that most of our HBCUs have been servicing communities for over 100 years. And so in terms of our relevancy, it's no secret that our institutions graduate and produce outstanding graduates, whether it be from medicine to business to law to teaching. I mean, it just goes across the curriculum in terms of what our schools have done in placing individuals, in the workplace. Well, we will put our graduates up against any graduates, in this country.
Mhm.
And so they come to our institutions. We prepare them for the world of work, and they come to us at all different academic levels. But we are prepared to meet them where they are and take them where they need to go to be successful professionals. And so any of these schools that's on this panel tonight, as well as any HBCU in the country, could clearly demonstrate and articulate the success of our students that attend our institutions. Our institutions are relevant, and they produce some of the finest graduates that this nation would ever see that's come through our institutions. If you could go through, we don't have the time, but each one of these institutions that's on this panel tonight would be able to share with you outstanding graduates that have made a major impact on this nation that we live in today.
I want them never to stop asking that question, because I like to brag on the Black impact of HBCUs. I don't want them to stop asking the question. If they want to ask, I want to tell them boldly how we impact this country. I don't want them to ever stop, because see, some of our young people forgot, and now they had to find themselves in the streets dealing with the disparities that, you give them the mantle, the courage, the insight. So I don't want them to stop. We want them to understand. And then culturally, they can't do the job that you do.
Right. And let me say too that, and I need to give if I might be able to give a shout out and talk about impact. The AKAs, again, have raised over $1 million to support our historically Black colleges and universities. I got a call and letter this week, email, of a $50,000 endowed scholarship by the AKAs, and so that you AKAs just on the phone, so that I called my good friend President Glover, who is the national president, and thank her for her work and AKAs, and we certainly want to challenge all Greek that's out there, including Brother Ross, and including our frat, to step up like the AKAs and support our HBCU. So I just want to push that out there, because we have corporations, we have fraternities and sororities that's supporting our institutions, and more so during this time. Never have we seen corporations, foundations, private individuals step up to the plate and support, of course, the CARES Act. And I would say, and I agree with Madam President Knight, I don't know where we would be without the support of the CARES Act. The CARES Act was right on time for our institutions, and we've been able to thrive in pushing through this pandemic.
Well, I am proud and ask often. That is all I can say. If you're not asking often, you will definitely not get fed. And you got to share the inventiveness that needs to take place. But there was a young lady in Detroit, and she was an athlete, and she just swore she wanted to go to USC. And I said, you're about 5'8", you're really not going to be able to compete at USC. And then she said, I got an offer from a small college in Alabama called Alabama State University to play volleyball. And I said, well, what are you waiting for? She said, I'm going to go to USC. I said, no, you're not. You know, she was just asking me. I just happened to know her parents. And she said, well, why not? I said, well, one, culturally, you're in Detroit, but you need to go back to the South and get a real connection to your community. Two, you'll leave there with the great institutional experience and no debt. And today she works at Google and is head to Stanford or Harvard after graduating from ASU. So I want you to know that you all are having huge impacts on young people. And I want our viewers to understand that your child can excel and go a long way going to these HBCUs that you see here. What is the message and what is the success metric? Because another one of my friends has another child that he is entrusted with you is playing baseball, JC Clark over there at ASU. And I really want to know because athletics could use the same enrichment and it appears to be part of what's happening. Dr. Quentin T. Ross Jr., can you share your vision as a president on the athletics and as well as just what the culture is on academics and athletics? Because you've got a successful, strong program going on.
Munson, thank you so much. And again, let me thank Walmart and rolling out and also Coca-Cola United for putting together this esteemed panel. I am truly happy to be in the ranks with my colleagues who are doing phenomenal jobs at their institution. But thank you, and I might need to add you to my admission staff if you can keep sending me students. But we truly, all of our institutions, we believe in the scholar athlete. And here at Alabama State University, for probably the third or fourth time, we have had over the majority of our athletes have 3.0 or better. And so we stress academics, but coupled with the athletics, I think it gives the student an opportunity and well-roundedness to succeed. It teaches them a discipline to make it in our environment, and so they can go out into the greater community and be impactful. So they have to go hand in hand, and we have a phenomenal athletic director in AD Jennifer Williams, who happens to be, Munson, from Michigan, from Southfield, Michigan. And she is probably one of the only female ADs in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. But she's doing a phenomenal job here, and we stress academics. And so that is a bridge and a gateway to many of our institutions. And if you pay attention to what's happening nationally with our pro teams, they are now shining the light on athletics at historically Black colleges. I was just on a Zoom call with Chris Paul yesterday. And I just wanted to simply call and thank him on behalf of all of the historically Black college presidents for his vision to really highlight HBCUs. And one of the things Chris said to me, he said, while he went to Wake Forest, right, he had family members and other individuals that went to HBCUs. So that's how he was able to get his start. And so it's important that they know. And when you look at athletics across the board, more athletes are now promoting our institutions, because where can you get it better than an HBCU? And we have to let it be known, and we have to make sure that we're encouraging our alumni. All of my colleagues have talked about the alumni, but we have to be engaged to tell the story. And one other thing that Chris said to me was that, you know, during his time, he didn't have a whole lot of people talking about the HBCU. Well, we have to we have to tell our story. 153 years, all of these institutions are over 100 years old. The relevance, why aren't we relevant? We have been around longer than many of our PWI institutions. And this was the only place that African Americans could attend. And we're going to abandon the notion that we cannot develop the middle class or those who are in this nation. That's preposterous. And so let them keep asking. We are relevant. And I think each day we show our relevance. Even when you get down to talking about COVID-19, if you look at the institutions on this call and many of our HBCUs, we have not been the topic of the news about major breakouts. We have not been the topic on the news about non-compliance, because at our institutions, we teach our students how to conform, because it's important for them to understand how to conform here. So when they get out into society, they can too pivot on a dime's notice in order to be successful. So listen, I can go on and on. So relevance, I tell people I get, one of my mentors said, you get emotional. And then he said, but when you really feel strong about something, you get commotional. And so I get commotional when I talk. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. Stop there. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic.
Unmute your mic.
Munson, you're muted.
Ready to go.
There he is.
I'm right here.
Okay, good.
I'm close to you. No, I'm excited about the whole idea. And I think we have to continue to remind people of how relevant we are and how innovative we are, and then showcase. Because the other thing is, they don't know us. We're not at their boardrooms. We're not their CEOs yet. They haven't really wanted us in. Systematic racism clearly has kept us out of the boardrooms and the numbers based on what we have given this country. So I'm with you. So I believe that, you don't know us. You really don't. You haven't had that opportunity. And I look forward. We've got to work on that. That'll be a good thing for us to move. How to share the mic with other PWIs so they really can begin to know. We can really create those partnerships that really should exist.
Right.
And I think that those are the type things. But we've got I want a little tidbit from each of you on what is happening, because this campaign is all about celebration. And Coke United is titled this, Our HBCUs Celebrate. Give us one thing that we should be thinking about and celebrating as alumni and a community as it relates to HBCUs, and just a little tidbit about the school. Dr. Knight, we'll start with you.
So again, thanks to Coca-Cola and Walmart. I have to give a shout out to our alumni. Our alumni giving under my tenure has increased 105%. It's still not where it needs to be. We've got to reach out and find and identify those alumni. We have a vast number of alumni all over the country and the world, and we want you back. We want you to come back and engage, not just financially, but our alumni have so much to offer our students. They have been down that road. They have, they love the institution. They love Miles College. And I just want them to come back and celebrate and help us mentor and create this next generation, or these next generation of leaders for our country. Now, let me see, what was the question?
Just a little bit tidbit fact. That's good. I mean, that was it. Giving is up. Everybody give.
But not just financially. That's the point. I want, we want you engaged. We want you engaged with our students. So I would be remiss, since everybody talked a little bit about sports, that I am actually wearing my championship necklace. Under the leadership of our athletic director and head football coach, Coach Reginald Ruffin, we were the #1 football team in the SIAC, and we won the Commissioner's Cup. We do also have scholar athletes, and we're very proud of that for our women and our men athletes. The Miles College is open for business. We want students. We want you to come. If you don't come to Miles, go to one of these schools that are on this screen, because you know what? I love all of these schools. I have family connections with each one of these institutions, either siblings or first cousins or uncles or aunts went to every one of the institutions that's represented on this screen. So even though I didn't go to an HBCU, I am now an HBCU because I'm at Miles, of course, but I'm connected to all of your institutions, and I love all of you. And
I,
you too, Munson.
I love you back, but look, Morehouse, the president of Morehouse didn't attend Morehouse. I mean that I think we want best in class. We need people to pour into the institution. So I don't think that's a requirement. I think that we've got to change up the entire program. So I love it, and it's what we need. Dr. Warwick, fun fact for our HBCUs celebrate. A fun fact on Stillman.
Well, I will tell you a fun fact is that we held our 2020 graduation on September 5th, and our alums reached out and said, we want something about Black Lives Matter. And I said, okay, and we produced a huge banner. And we had Mayor Randall Woodfin of Birmingham was our commencement speaker. And when we walked out on the stadium and he saw the banner, I said, what do you think? And he's like, wow, I just think it's great. I'm just looking at this and seeing. So we had the Black Lives Matter in your face there. And now for all of our athletic teams, we produce a Black Lives Matter patch for all the athletic teams' jerseys. And so we will have, just like the NBA, when I saw the Black Lives Matter all over the NBA, I said, man, we got to do something like that at Stillman. So we produced a patch for all of our athletic teams' jerseys. So we're going to have it out just like the NBA. Right. And we're really excited about that. You know, just getting our students ready. They're participating in all of these voter registration programs. So they're in the SC Votes kickoff with 1051 The Block. They're in Vote HBCU. Angela Rye is our leader on that. We're on the Yard 500 Leadership Fellowship Challenge for HBCU. Get out the vote. We're on Black Votes Matter HBCU voter registration, and we're in the Woke Vote campaign. We're working on all of the Black Lives Matter voter education programs, and Stillman is a precinct, so everyone can vote right on campus at our precinct. So we won't have to send folks to the polls, but we are participating in some of the early vote initiatives that the Alabama A&M president called all of us about. So we're doing it all. We're getting the early vote, we're registering voters, and we'll be voting at Stillman College.
Good. Hopefully early voting starts. You can make that part of your homecoming celebration that our HBCU celebrate. Dr. McNair, fun fact over there at Tuskegee.
Well, you know, I want to continue this focus on athletics. Recently, the U.S. Air Force Academy introduced a new football uniform, and it's around the Tuskegee Airmen. So they're using the Tuskegee Airmen colors, the theme. If you go to the website, you'll see that the coolest shoes you've ever seen. The shoes have the flame in the back and the helmets. It just brings a sense of pride to those of us who were and are Tuskegee Airmen and their families, and to our students who feel now connected to a very proud tradition. But it was quite exciting when we found out about this. So we're very excited about that. We also have students who are very active in getting out the vote. Tom Joyner has given our students scholarships and has asked the students to go out and register people to vote. So we've had a great deal of activity in that area as well. So it's wonderful to have our alums really looking out for our students' civic engagement.
Well, I don't know. That sounds really cool. You didn't tell me about that. We talked for a long time the other day. There's
a lot more we could talk about, right?
Hey, we're gonna have to do it again. We're gonna have to do it again. I think we definitely should have we've had one band director on. We definitely did that, but we were going to do it again. I think it's great. Dr. Hawkins, fun fact.
Fun fact, yeah.
Talladega for our HBU Celebrate.
Yeah, first of all, let me say that Talladega has a very rich alumni who's just so proud of this institution, and they love coming home. And it's just unfortunate we always have commencement and alumni weekend together, although we did have commencement August 16th. And so to play along with the conversations about athletics, we graduated our first very distinguished alum through our adult learner program. Most folks know him as Prime Time Deion Sanders across the
Mhm.
at Talladega.
Yes,
And
yes.
I waited. I actually hid him from the entire audience, had him to sit on the stage. Of course, we all had masks on.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, okay, sitting on that stage, that one of the graduates that was crossing the stage had made a comment, said, "What's happening prime time?" Now, I don't know how they figured that out, but we were able to surprise, and so that was very exciting. And we've just opened 3 new buildings on campus, and so we're just excited for our alums to come back to campus once the pandemic is over with, so that they can enjoy these 3 new facilities on the campus. And like my colleague, Dr. Knight, you've got your necklace on, and so I want to show you all this little ring here that our women's basketball team will receive once we can get athletics basketball started again, and so we can present them with their championship ring. I think it'll be my Dr. Ross. I think it's my 16th championship ring since I've been president here
Congratulations.
at Talladega. So we're looking forward to that. And then, Madam President Warwick, we too have followed you all's lead as it relates to Black Lives Matter. And so if you see this T-shirt here, our SGA, our student leaders, they actually this was their idea with the T-shirt, and they organized a march from the campus into town, tied it into a voter's registration. And I was just so proud of the students that I said, this is what it's all about. This was their idea. They organized it. They had great speakers out here on the plaza and really addressing societal issues. And I said to them, I said, this is what it's all about. You all thinking. And it is the second march of its type, probably in the history of Talladega. In 1968, a Talladegan, former president of ASU, Dr. Joe Lee, who was SGA president here, when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, he formed the students right out here on this corner, and they marched for the first time to downtown Talladega and back to the campus. And so that's what our students did in celebration of and making a statement about Black Lives Matter. And then they returned to the campus, and then they had a voter's registration getting ready for the upcoming election. So just want to share those few tidbits about what's going on at Talladega. And we're just excited. Alums, we love you, and we just can't wait till you come back home so that you can celebrate your alma mater with us.
This virtual homecoming sponsored by Coke United and Walmart. But Dr. Ross, Quentin T. Ross Jr., fun fact.
Fun fact. Well, first of all, I want to say, if you told me that we were going to, really big it up about sports, I'd have had my commissioner's cups lined up behind me. And I brought our championship ring. That's okay. We'll save that for later. But listen, and let me just speak to the alums for a minute. We have some of the greatest alums in the nation, and they too set out on a venture to make sure that they supported our students through what we call Protect the Nest. we made a clarion call to them to help our students during this, this critical time, and they rose to the occasion. But not only that, while we look at the financial contributions, our alumni, we appealed to the mental health of our students.
Mhm.
I had alumni to call over 3,000 students to give check-ins to see how they were doing. And that was an engagement that we
Mhm.
so proud of, and that the students, they just could not
Right.
believe it. And they were so excited about coming. So listen, the alumni are the key to keeping our institutions moving forward. And I just want to say how proud I am of all of them. And we participate in virtual calls all the time, as well as with our foundation and others. But when you talk about fun facts now, and get this, and Dr. Hawkins, he touched on something when he started talking about Dr. Lee, and it's so interesting how we're all intertwined. Now, Dr. Lee, who was a former president of Alabama State University, who happens to be one of my mentors, and his grandson, who is a 5-star out of Florida, attends the Alabama State University and is playing a football team. So it's full circle.
Yes.
Before we got on the call, I think I was telling them, Munson, that I just returned from an SGA inauguration. Now, I am a graduate of the Alabama State University 3 times over, and not because I couldn't go anywhere else. I didn't think anybody else could do it better. I was accepted to Auburn, but I was elected to the legislature at the same time, so I decided to stay home. But it was really funny being at an inauguration, and you go into this beautiful ballroom, and it's decked out and laid out, and I could not remember, Munson, ever having that type of inauguration. Matter of fact, I don't think it happened. When I was elected SGA president, I'm not going to talk about how long that was, but that was really funny. And when I told the kids, they just started laughing at me like, you mean you didn't have this? But anyway, that's a fun fact. But you know what? Even more importantly, and it may not be fun, but I think it's relevant. In 1960, 29 students from Alabama State University, they staged the first sit-in in the state of Alabama. In 1960, and it's relevant now as we look at what is happening across the country with Black Lives Matters, but that's a fact, an interesting fact of this institution. 9 of them were expelled. Everyone else were put on probation. And it wasn't until 2018, and at that time, all of our colleges were under, quote unquote, the State Board of Education, before we got our own boards. And then Governor Patterson wanted these students suspended, and the students were expelled. And it wasn't until 2018 that the superintendent then recognized and apologized for them being expelled for exercising their God-given right to stand for social justice and equality. And then one last thing is the office that I'm in the basement, Ms. Joanne Robinson, who was a staff member here at Alabama State University. She and students churned the leaflets in this basement to put on the cars to say, stay off of the buses during the Montgomery bus boycott. So anyway, I can go on, but I just wanted to share those little tidbits with you about the Alabama State University.
That sounds like we're going to have a phenomenal virtual homecoming. We've got a couple of questions for each of you. We only got about 15 minutes. I really have enjoyed my time, and I want to say thanks to all of you. Dr. McNair, Tuskegee is currently ranked 4th among the top HBCUs by U.S. News and World Report. You jumped to 4th from 15 in less than 4 years. What are some of the improvements and changes that you attribute to your institution's phenomenal growth?
Well, we've worked very hard to increase our retention rate. That's the percentage of students from the first year who come back for their second year. And we've done this through very targeted and intense advising and tutoring of all first-year students. We know that there are certain classes that students need to do well in order to progress. So we focus our efforts on those classes as well. But this is an effort that's university-wide, so all students take part in these efforts. So retention, we jumped 2 percentage points in retention over the last 4 years. We've also increased our alumni giving rate. And again, this speaks volumes to the commitment of our alums who are listening to each other and saying, we've got to give back to Mother Tuskegee. We've had some very targeted efforts at reaching out to alums, to making it easier for them to get to know what's happening on campus, for them to get to know what's happening with our students. And we've made it easier for them to give to the university. So I think those two factors have really gone a long way in boosting our scores.
Well, I'm proud of that. I mean, I think movement is so important. I mean, I think we talk about retention. The worst thing in the world is to say, I went to a college and not I graduated.
Yes, and I didn't finish.
That is a painful
Yes.
fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a beautiful goal. Dr. Knight, you are the first female president of a 122-year-old university.
Thank you. Yes. And
Winning with women. You talk about that. Yeah, as an executive, what gems in your personal story would you share with other young women who are coming through the ranks and young men about progress and stewardship?
progress and stewardship. So yes, I am the first woman president in 122 years, and it's shocking to me that it took that darn long for them to figure out that women can do that, do this work. But I tell all young women that I work with, and I've mentored a lot of young women over the years. My background was business, and it doesn't matter what career you're going into, but you've got to be, first of all, relentless about everything you do. If you want something to happen, if you want to move the needle, if you want good results for yourself or the company you work with or the school you work for, you have to focus on the metrics. And that's the one thing that I want women to think about is, how do I move the needle for me personally? You've got to be relentless about it. You've got to tell your story. You've got to hone your skills. Be the best at whatever you want to be. And you know what? It's not that hard. When you think about it, you think, okay, be the best. Well, there's people that are smarter than me. I am not the smartest person in the world, but I know how to surround myself with incredible people who are very gifted and talented. And I hope I can help bring out the best in those people. But be relentless. I don't care what it is. Don't stop.
Thank you. Dr. Warwick, HU, you are a HU graduate. How much of being alumnus from, HU, Howard University, how is that factored into your experience that you share with your students at Stillman, for sure?
Well, it's really important. I think my Howard and my HBCU experience, all my family members attended HBCUs, my grandparents, my parents, my aunt, my uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, siblings, and children all attended HBCUs. And I think what I try to do at Stillman every day is ensure that we have high expectations. We are committed to excellence. We're committed to customer service. I think, what HBCUs have is the only place on this earth that you can grow up without racism, without discrimination. Just that refuge from that discrimination and racism is just so important to develop those leadership skills that are so highly needed. And we HBCUs produce the leaders. So I remember when I was in student government, so I really support my students who are student leaders. I think it's so important. If I had gone to a PWI, when I got out of high school, my dad wanted me to go to one of the big schools in Houston. And I was like, Daddy, I'm tired of being the only one in the class. And you know, and then when I got to Howard and I saw all of the talent there, and I was like, wow, now I can just be me and do what I want to do, and not have to go and worry about what did you get, what did you get. We're all there together working hard, trying to make it. So that's what I want for my students at Stillman, and they can all reach out to me, and they know that I have their back and their best interests. And so I make our faculty and staff accountable to our students every day, because that's why we're there, to make sure they get their education, they get those leadership skills, they get connected to companies and internship opportunities, job opportunities, graduate program opportunities. So it's about connecting them to their future, and giving them the confidence and competence to succeed.
Thank you. Dr. Hawkins, they say you're a turnaround expert. And I think that what are some of the principles that you use when turning around institutions? And I'm sure that includes people too. And what would you say to some of the HBCU alumni who are entrepreneurs trying to rebuild their businesses after the impact that they would be able to use?
Yeah, first, before I answer that, my admissions office will frown at me if I don't mention this. My admissions office, they just produced a third year in a row record enrollment, first time 1313, and amidst this pandemic. And so I just needed to get that shout in, if I may, President. I had to get that in for the admissions staff, and they worked very, very hard. And but you know, these presidents that are on this panel, this call, and I say this to their alums, and you know, they know what it takes to run one of our institutions. It's first, I would say that you have to become a strength-focused leader, in my beliefs, to be successful at running an institution of higher learning. Because oftentimes these presidents that are on this panel tonight, and I said, when I talk about strength and focus, oftentimes that they have to draw on their own strength. When that support is not there to help them to push and make it through as they make very difficult decisions in running these institutions. And so I say that to whether it's alums or those who are struggling with businesses, you have to become a strength-focused leader in order to move the needle, to move that business. First of all, you got to understand your. Second, you've got to understand your customer, and you've got to put your customers, your students, and their parents, and you've got to put them in the center of everything that you do as you grow the institution. And then the next point that I've always said in the two institutions that I've been successful at turning around is that you've always got to look moving forward. We spend far too much time looking behind us, complaining about what was done behind us, when in fact you can't do anything about that. But sure, you can control everything that's in front of you, and really focusing in on the institution. You have to be conscientious of budgets and understand the budgeting process. It's very, very important. And then you have to understand the accreditation process, because if you understand that, that will help you to build a strong institution and keep an institution moving forward. And then you have to understand the surroundings, understand everything that's around you, and you've got to make a commitment to excellence. And when I say that is, when I talk about excellence, I talk about the academic curriculum that you build, and these presidents are doing that. You see all the wonderful awards that they're all receiving and accolades in the institution. And then you've got to talk about, you've got to look in terms of the internal, how you can make it better. And you also got to look at the external and making it better, because what people see is what they believe. and then they measure that. And then my final point on that is that no college president can be successful without having a board chair that understands your vision or the president's vision, or the CEO of a company must have a chair of that board that clearly buys into your vision, because you are the vision. You paint the vision for the institution. Then you have to have a board that buys into that vision. No president can be successful without a supportive board, and a board that is pulling in the same direction as you are as president.
Thank you. Last question to Dr. Ross. Recently, you said in times of crisis, you have to embrace the moment. You're either going to sink or swim. We choose to swim. Tell us how this winning attitude is being implemented among your staff and students to keep them motivated during the pandemic.
Amongst and all of my colleagues, we faced the daunting challenge back in March of having to make the decision to send our students home. That was one of the most difficult decisions I know that I had to make as president, and I know my colleagues may feel the same. But at the same time, understanding what we mean to our students, knowing that when we dismissed our students, as has been said on the call, that we were sending our students back to situations that they came to us trying to escape, and also trying to come and gain a greater understanding of who they were and furthering themselves in higher education. And so I told my team at that time that we have to look at the good in a bad situation. And on that day, on March 12th, when we made the decision to send our students home, on March 13th, we began the planning process of what it would look like to finish this semester. We began the process of what if, but never to look back and look at and go, woe is me. How do we get this done? And so I'm just so appreciative of the faculty, the staff, the students that I have, and the leadership that I have on this campus, that they embrace that understanding that despite the frustration of the moment, we have to move forward. We have to continue to provide this service to our students. And so that was the attitude that we began with, and it has brought us to this point. We're all still open. We're still here. People said that it could not be done, but we decided that we were going to make it work. And it's the hard work of the faculty, staff, and the alumni that has gotten us to this point. And then don't forget the students embracing the new normal, embracing those things that they have to do to practice social responsibility to help us help them succeed in this environment. And so it's important that we understand our role. And you talk about relevance. There's a book that's written by Dr. Jelani Favors that's called Shelter in Time of Storm. We are a shelter in time of storm for our students. And when we made the decisions to allow our students to come back, the one thing that fell on me was this is a teachable moment. And what better place can they learn how to cope with those things that are swirling around them than on their campus, at Old Mother Dear, at Tuskegee, at Miles, at Stillman, at Talladega? Where better place could they be to be prepared? And this will go down in history. They will be in the history books as the students who made it through a pandemic, and that will strengthen them as they move throughout our nation. So that we have to keep them motivated. We have to keep them captivated. We have to let them know that we're going to stand in the gap for them and with them. And so that's all a part of our job. They didn't tell us that, but that's what we have to do. And so I could go on. You get me commotional when I start talking about it. So
I know I didn't set that fire, but you, I know better. But on behalf of Rolling Out Coke United, Walmart, this illustrious institutions represented here, I'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight. Now more than ever, the importance of giving to our HBCUs is evident. Thank you, guys. I'd like to encourage each of you to visit the websites of these institutions so you can learn more about how they're transforming their lives and support them in the many years to come. So remember, Saturday, our HBCU Celebrate, have a fun-filled virtual road trip to all these schools represented tonight. And it's going to be a great day from noon to 6, DJ sets and more, broadcast with your homecoming crew. All of you, I want to say, have a Coke and a smile. So thank you so much. Visit rollingout.com for more information. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.